welcome to the Board Game Design Variety Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Dunstan. Hope everyone is doing well on this fine Friday. Got a bit to catch up on chat. Hey, Zate and Rob, welcome. You're not late. I am just a bit late today. Apologies. I'm really sorry to hear, Zate, that you're with your migraines. Yeah, I hope you can get some relief somehow. I'm sorry to hear that. Hey, Robin, how are you going? Welcome. Yes, Rob says do not cut your head off. That's that hopefully doesn't need to be said. But anyway, I hope everyone is well as they can be at the end of another week in this weird and wonderful world that we find ourselves in 2021. What's everyone been up to? I didn't stream on Wednesday as I had an appointment to get a new visa to be able to work in the UK, which is always a bit of fun to yet again partake myself of the wonderful UK immigration service, which I think I've probably experienced more than most people. Hi Vez, how you going? Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. It's sorted out. I put my application in. I hope it should be fairly straightforward. I hope it will. The more difficult thing actually will be going to when I can go to the UK to actually pick it up and like activate it. I don't know how that's going to work. Because obviously it doesn't make much sense to fly to the UK right now. But we shall see. But I've done the bit on my start. Hi Robert, how you going? Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, so apart from that, I have had a bit more researchy kind of meetings the last few days, so I've been a bit busy with that. But yeah, just kind of trying to chunk through various bits and pieces with various games. Rob says he's had a bit of a lethargic week, but made progress with Alex and started to get a few things sorted. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I was remarking to Brett today. I've got a bit of a unique. It's a strange thing to complain about, but I feel like I'm doing a lot of work on games without necessarily seeing the fruits of my endeavors. And I think this is a pretty common thing when you work in game design, that you like there's a lot of preparation, a lot of work, a long time ahead of something getting released. And I guess with all the delays of last year and a lot of projects being pushed back, it feels like I've been preparing for like 2 years for everything to happen. And it's still kind of, because nothing is kind of released yet this year. And like, I haven't held like a new box in my hand, which is always, I guess that's the moment when it's real now. It's just a funny, I think I'm getting a bit of fatigue of just feeling like you're pushing a boulder up a hill and you trust that it's going in the right direction. You trust that it's in the right, it's the right direction. It's what you should be doing. But, it's been so long since you've kind of seen the real thing. Anyway, yeah, I guess I'm sort of on a little bit of not a bad tip at the end of the week, but yeah, it's been one of those weeks, I guess. Hey Simon, how you going? Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, I don't see you so often. Hope you're well. Robin says, does Matt have a meeting with Ravensburger? No, I don't have a meeting with Ravensburger. I didn't actually enter anything in the whatever designer days thing. I mean, I'm already working with people from Ravensburger, so I'm sure if I wanted to show them something, I can email them. Not that I have anything to show them, so that also wouldn't be very helpful. But one project is enough. That particular project is taking a lot of our time. Did take a lot of our time, is about to start taking more time. We're going to start some new cases for it soon. So, yeah, I don't necessarily need many more meetings. Yeah, Robert, I'm glad that that kind of feeling speaks to you. Yeah, it was. I mean, the other thing that was sort of interesting was that this week I had any last minute tips for pitching to Ravensburger? Well, no, Bez, I think you have as much experience as I in a way. I think, I don't think there's anything particularly special in terms of pitching to Ravensburger as to other companies. I think you just want to, present your idea clearly and present your games as clearly. I think always having in your back of your head that obviously Ravensburger maybe more than a lot of other companies, is looking to like quite a broad audience with their, even with the kind of like family games or even slightly more strategic games. So I think it's sort of, you know, they're kind of like mass market without strictly being mass market. And obviously the German scene is a little bit different in terms of like, you know, you see Ravensburger games in department stores and things. It's different than we think of it in England or the US, I guess. So yeah, I think just, you know, obviously making a point of how accessible or how you know, how easily, you know, the games can be picked up by, you know, say a non-gaming audience. If you have a game that kind of suits that style of pitch, I think is a good way to go. But yeah, I don't have any, you know, I don't think I ever approached Ravensburger meetings in any particularly different way. To be honest, actually, there were many years where we would meet with Ravensburger every year and we wouldn't actually pitch them anything. You know, we were lucky enough to have a kind of a good relationship with the person there, and he was always happy to just sort of see us. And I think, you know, in some ways, the Ravensburgers felt like they were looking for something very specific. And if you didn't have something in that realm, we just sort of thought, well, there's no point. But I think things have loosened up a little bit over the last few years, and I think these designer days are one thing to that. I think they're looking for a wider style of game. So yeah, I think you will be fine. Sorry to hear you don't have a meeting with Ravensburger, Rob. Did you apply for one, or so that I guess they were very quick to like tell people if they had meetings or not. Hey Aqua, how are you going? Welcome. Yeah, so yeah, I was saying that I had the next meetings with my mentees from the tabletop mentorship program this week, and they were generally good. But it was interesting that, especially in one of the meetings, we talked a lot about kind of, I guess, mental health with respect to game designing, and it was an interesting discussion actually, and I think it was nice to have the discussion. I hope what I said was helpful, but even for me, it was actually useful to kind of talk about. I think, you know, it's especially if you in that kind of transition period, because one of my mentees is somewhat similar to myself, has left their job fairly recently and is trying to make a go of it kind of full-time in game design. And, you know, it's interesting how things, you know, change when you go from like a not quote unquote normal workplace environment where, you know, you have a job, a boss and tasks to do. It's, you know, I guess I was reflecting on some of the things you don't realize that well, I think one is that game designers, we're very hard on ourselves, I think, and you're kind of your own worst critic, and that can be really tough. And I was sort of saying, like, actually, I think the best piece of advice is actually just to go easy on yourself. You know, like if you get to the end, I mean, this was something I took for that really helped me, I think, also in being a PhD student, which has some similarity to being a game designer, because you have the similar sense of kind of independence, and also that you're not going to get a lot of external validation. It's a lot about like internally sort of moving forward with your own project that nobody else really knows what you're doing necessarily. You have to push yourself. Being an independent game designer is much the same. And I don't know I don't know exactly where I picked it up, but there was a point that I just got very good at sort of saying, you know, when you get to the end of the day, you know, you've done what you could, essentially. Like the day was the day. It was what it was. You can't change it now. You did the best you could, and sometimes that meant you've achieved a lot. Sometimes it meant you haven't achieved anything. But there's no point, you know, bashing yourself up for what's happened. It's happened, and then just be happy with that and be content and go home and you know, enjoy the evening or relax if you can. You know, and it was interesting, that kind of mentality really helped me in my PhD, and I think it helps me now too, with, you know, just realizing you're gonna have good and bad days. You're gonna have some days where nothing really works, but that's okay. That the day is what it was, and you can just sort of move on from there. Yes, Robin, mentees do include some established designers. I mean, this mentee has had one game released, I think, thus far, and it has several more with publishers. So yeah, I think, and I had a mentee the previous time, which was a similar stage. yeah. So and the other mentee, their first game is it will be released this year, I think. So yeah, I have some people who are a little bit further along, and I kind of when I because you kind of you don't select your mentees, but you give kind of like preferences, or not preferences. You say like, who are they give you a list and sort of say like, who would you be happy to mentor? And I said that I'm quite happy to mentor people at the whole, like along all the stages, but I'm especially interested in mentoring the people who are maybe thinking about doing it full time, or how do you kind of think of game design as a profession. I felt like I have a bit of experience in that and that I could be helpful. So at this time I've got 2 mentees that are, like maybe a little bit further along in their kind of designing journey. But yeah, so as I was sort of talking about that, the mental health aspect, and just being easy on yourself, and realizing that also you have to take time to enjoy the successes that you have, because you don't have that external validation. You don't have a lot of times where you're going to get to, you don't even get the sense of completion necessarily. When you have a task at a job, there's often a lot of things that tell you that job has been done. People will thank you for it, or at least will acknowledge that you've done it. There's a sense of completion and finality, and you don't have that with games. Actually, the joke, the saying is that a game design is never done. And yes, when you sort of send off the files, that can be kind of final, but sometimes it's not quite finished. And even when the game gets released, you might have different feelings about it. Maybe it didn't quite go the way you wanted it to. Maybe there were things you wish you could have changed in hindsight. So, it's hard to kind of, draw a line under it, but also to kind of get that sense of achievement and contentment, which can make you feel, sometimes not anxious, but sort of, unsettled, I guess. And it was interesting sort of chatting about that, and that you kind of have to be conscious of it and actually try and enjoy the times you have. And then there've been a few times on stream which I've sort of gone like, I open a box and enjoy that, because even like, especially right now with lockdown, you don't get those times to kind of enjoy when one of your games gets released necessarily in the same way. And if you don't do it, then nobody's going to do it to you. So, you have to make the most of those, I think. Robert says, I don't understand why anyone who isn't having designs published back-to-back year after year can financially afford to go full-time. Certainly it's what kept me from even considering the idea of going full-time. It's, well, I think, I mean, obviously I can't speak to this particular mentees. I mean, everyone has a different set of circumstances, right? And you can, there's 2 ways to balance the equation. One is to earn more money, and one is, I guess, to spend less money. And if you're single and you don't have dependents, and you don't have a lot of and maybe you live in a country where it's not as expensive to live, and things like that. So that's another way that can kind of change the equation. But yeah, no, I agree. It's I think it is a difficult. I certainly wouldn't recommend it to someone starting out. I would. I would try and do it as a side hustle or a part-time, or until you really get to the point where you actually see the money in your account, or you see the kind of success that would be at a level that you feel like you can, that it could support you. There is something to be said that, and it depends how you work. It depends, like there's also a point to be said that even if you spend all your time game designing, it doesn't necessarily mean you're more productive. I think sometimes some people, and I was certainly the same when I was, doing much more research as a portion of my day job, you kind of, when you don't have a lot of time, you kind of just make the time, don't you? And you sort of, that like you make the most of whatever time you have, I guess is my point. And if you're given much more time, it doesn't actually mean you're going to get much more done. So I think, yeah, the kind of full-time question is a tricky one in a way. I don't know what I'd recommend. I think I think if you're going to do a full-time, you should go into it with your eyes open. I think I would just warn people as to what to say. But if you really want to give it a try, then great. And if you're at a point of your life where you feel like you can experiment and you can say, look, I can do the next 6 months. I have enough saved up. I'm going to try this. Then great. I think if you go into it with that thinking, then that's also fine. Of course, the tricky thing with board game design is that everything is so there's so much of a lag to everything. So even if you sort of sit down right now and go like, oh, I'm going to be full time, then realistically, you're only going to see the fruits of your labors, you know, many years down the track. And I think that's why actually not setting up to be full time. You might start working now, and maybe it's going to lead to being full time, but you'll only know that in a few years when you start getting the payments and things like that. Robert says, that's my thinking. When I tell friends I might get a game published, they seem to massively overestimate what I know. Yeah, that's true. I think there's probably not a lot of understanding of just how little, how few, like the kind of average print run of your average kind of hobby style game, like how small that is, and then accordingly how little the royalties are necessarily. Aqua says, I feel full-time also involves a myriad of adjacent activities like publishing, freelance development, content creation. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think once you go full-time, and in a way that can be a positive, because once people know that you're full-time in the industry, actually that sometimes can open up new opportunities like this, like in development or various like expansions or content creation, things like that. But yeah, but that also requires, you know, some amount of contacts and people sort of know who you are, or at least know that you're full-time, and it obviously helps to have a bit of a track record, so that helps people decide, you know, to hire you or whatever. But yeah, Rob said, difference between amateur and pro: the amateur has a day job, the pro has a spouse with a day job. Yeah. Well, that's the way it is. Aqua says, there's a certain maxim that suggests your work takes as much time as it's given. Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And that's why I love deadlines. Like that's why I love regular. I mean, that's why kind of now it's a bit tough. You don't have these same meetings to play test. You know, I always loved in Cambridge, we had these weekly playtest meetings every Tuesday night. And just having that deadline meant you got so much done, because you couldn't miss it. That was the meeting. You couldn't push it back. And you knew if you didn't have your game done by then, you would miss a chance to playtest it. So it really helped, you know, progress things much more quickly, just because you would make use of the time you had to get things done. Simon says, do you purely design, Matt, or do you do any development work too? I'm mostly pure design. I have done a very little bit of consulting for one or two publishers, just looking over a few submissions of theirs and giving some feedback. I wouldn't really call it development. I guess I would call it, you know, like assessment, prototype assessment or something like that. I have done some design kind of like on contract. So some publishers have some IPs, and I've done one in particular, which I hope will be released in the next year or 2 years. And with some other publishers, I have a sort of a close relationship with, and even if we don't have a formal like contract to like produce a game, they'll let me know that we'd like a game in this kind of thing. This is the kind of parameters. Do you think you could make us something? And I've done some of that. And like, for example, well, Simon, of course, you would know, with the Dice Hospital roll and write with Alley Cat, that was something like that, where Cesar sort of reached out and said, you know, we'd love a roll and write in this universe. Do you think you could make something of that? And we did. Yeah. Rob said, I think it was Pratchett who said that he loved deadlines and the sound they made as they go whooshing past. That does sound like Terry Pratchett. Oh, I should check if I'm missing any things happening. No. Rob said, I find the same virtually. Saturday's Gilhover's playtest group, and that's the deadline I work to. Oh, that's great. I'm glad that you're getting something out of it. I read on Twitter a comment from Elizabeth Hargrave or something about just reflecting on what it's like being a designer right now, and that she I don't know, I'm kind of paraphrasing the words, I'm not quoting it perfectly, but it's something like anything roll around playtesting kind of fills her with dread, or it's much worse than it was before. And until I read that, I didn't realize actually that, yeah, for me, that's been a big change, I think, over the last year. That for me, and I was really lucky. I lived in a city where we had a weekly playtest, and it was a social event. I liked going there and just seeing people, and we got to playtest as well. But now, when playtesting feels like much more like work, especially like late at night in front of your computer, and it's much less enjoyable. I've definitely kind of struggled with that. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, see you, Vez. Thanks very much for dropping by. Hope you have a nice evening. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of where what the week's been. But you know, generally some nice, you know, things still moving forward. Life is, I mean, it was a bit the same when I was thinking about, you know, I'm still pondering about what I want to do with streaming and whether I want to sort of like scale back a little bit and kind of stream less if I want to change when I'm going to be streaming. I realized even today, you know, as it's starting to, you know, it's still actually a bit light outside. And I was just, you know, I got to go for a quick walk just before this. And I was like, oh, you know, when the weather's nice, you know, I don't feel like streaming as much. So maybe I'll try and stream more in the mornings or something like that. I'm not sure. Who knows what will happen? Robert says, maybe I'm the opposite. For me, the last year's meant I've got to know people around the world I wouldn't have done. It's been so much more productive. I'm really glad to hear that, Robert. And I think there are probably many more people like you, and I think that's a really great thing. And there are definitely some positives. You know, yeah, you said physical playtest is makes you use time printing and cutting cards. Yeah, and virtual playtest can sometimes be much more quicker in terms of iterating and making new prototypes and things like that. No, I don't think you're certainly not on your own in that kind of feeling. I think it probably is just reminded me just how lucky I was, actually. You know, the kind of the luck and the privilege to have such a group in Cambridge that I could go to every week. You know, and I was spoiled, you know, like, and so anything that's kind of less than that, even though the virtual world is great and you can meet amazing people, you know, it's like, I just like my people. I just want to spend time with my friends. So, yeah, but of course the online thing can definitely work as well. I think it's also, there's just a bit of a general fatigue about online meeting, you know, when a lot of your job is doing that as well. And there's only so much that you get to a point where, like, if I have to have another Zoom call or another Skype call today, you know, I might just go a little bit crazy. So, yeah. But anyway, it's not so bad, and I found ways around it. So I can't worry too much. Robin says, I did 0 game design last year. Have already been way more productive this year, but even that amount feels like a guilt stone hanging around me. I'm really sorry to hear that, Robin. I think, you know, as I was sort of saying before, you know, we're always our own worst critics, and I honestly think that the you know, one of the best things is just to remind ourselves to be, more than anything, just be kind to ourselves. You know, that you know, yeah, we can be both our worst critics, but also our best supporters, or you know, and you know, ultimately that's more important than getting more games finished or things like that. Yeah, but I'm sorry it feels like that. Yeah, I hope that, and it can be hard. It can be really hard, you know, seeing everything online, and you always see, you know, the best stories from everyone, and there's more games being released, and someone has done a new design, and someone's got 3 new designs going, and maybe I'm not that good for that. So, and sorry, you know, in some way I'm sharing what's going on, and it's not meant to be discouraging to anyone else. You know, it's I hope it's helpful, but I don't think I ever want to make other people feel guilty for what they get done, because everyone has different circumstances and different, you know, priorities and different things that they're doing. So I hope it can feel a bit better, and that you can, that you can kind of rediscover the joy. And I think it goes up and down, right? There are going to be times where design feels harder, or it's not as rewarding, and there are other times when you feel like you can really enjoy it for what it is more, and even recognizing that that's kind of cyclical, you know, can help you through those harder times, hopefully. So, yeah. Alex says, I was just nurturing a group of designers around Brighton this time last year. Oh, okay. I didn't know you were in Brighton. That's good. Well, I hope, because I thought I knew someone else in Brighton who was a designer. Someone who's part of the playtesting group. I can't remember now. Yeah. Well, I hope it can start up. You know, hopefully it's not completely lost. Hopefully that work is not completely gone. Have you been in contact with them, like through the lockdown at all, or anything like that? Rob says, I've been more unproductive until the last couple of months or so, when I've been making new connections and finding new ways to do things. I'm really missing my monthly trip to the Jug and Hare, though. Yeah. So for those who don't know, that Jug and Hare is the pub in London where the main London playtest group once a month is. And it's where Brett and I would go. You know, it's been running for 11 or 12 years now. And yeah, it was always a really nice time. And yeah, again, it was just really social. It was a great. It actually drew a lot of people even from outside of London in, and it was a great way to catch up with people. Yeah, I think through all of this, and especially with the current state of the world, even more so, is not to be too hard on ourselves. Also missing the trips, missing talking to people and playtesting, but also the train bus trips were great idle thinking time. You're absolutely right. It's sort of interesting. On one hand, I'm so happy that I'm not flying around so much. I used to fly so often because I was flying between, just personally flying between Cambridge and Prague, like all the time, like at least once a month. I would be flying between the two, or even twice a month. Then for my actual research job, I was often traveling a lot as well, going back to Australia every now and then, international conferences, amazing life. But it also meant there were a lot of, like, all those plane trips were a really great time. You were kind of disconnected. You didn't have internet. Which for me is kind of the great distractor. And they were times to really think about new ideas, and I really did enjoy that, actually. And you kind of entered a certain state, like, I don't know, it was familiar, that kind of ritual of travel. And I really like train trips as well, which I do quite a few in the UK. And it's sort of interesting, I don't have any of that now. And on one case, it's great because, I have so much more time in some ways, but yeah, missed some of that thinking time, I guess. Yeah, I'm glad you're finding it encouraging. I guess this is a group hug for everybody, hopefully, or something like that. You can rename the stream what it is, but yeah, I hope it's useful. Yeah, I'm not. Ultimately, that's what I hope to. I hope people can get something out of the stream that's useful. Alex says, "Oh, you occasional contact with people in Brighton, but prefer physical places." I completely agree. Yeah, I'm glad that you find these streams motivation. That's really nice to hear. Hey, Rory, how are you going? Welcome. How have you been? We're talking about sort of generally mental health in game design, taking care of yourself first and foremost, and things like that. Sort of following on from meeting with some of my mentees this week, and various things, but thankfully, things aren't too bad. And at the end of the week, I have a lovely cup of hot tea, which I can really enjoy. So yeah, I'm still very fortunate in all of these things. And yeah, I didn't have a lot of kind of game design. I have to admit, I wasn't necessarily feeling that much up to doing much actual game design on the stream today. I know the Continents hasn't moved on very far. Sorry about that. I'm sure I'll get back to it. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you woke up. So yeah, that's tough. I hope you can have a proper relax. Every time I see your profile picture, Rory, that to me just is like the epitome of relaxing. Had a good walk here, having a cup of tea or a beer or whatever that is. So I hope you get to channel whatever you had in your profile pic over the weekend and have a bit of a break. Yes. Yeah. I don't have anything planned for the weekend, which of course is pretty normal for this time of things. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. I'm not very good at the moment between really having a proper weekend, because I'm also just thinking, oh, the weekend I can catch up on all these other game design things that I didn't get to do during the week, when I really should probably take a bit of a break. But anyway, Robert said, I've been enjoying the stream. I didn't really get Twitch until a few months ago. It feels close to social life at the moment. Oh, thanks very much, Robert. That's really kind. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I'm still kind of figuring it out, but it has been really nice to sort of to get back to it. Yes, Robin, I did see. Yeah, I saw the message. Sorry, I didn't reply, but I will reply. Yes. I think, yeah, I've actually been thinking with Continents that I'd like to go in a direction of getting rid of the animals altogether and be much more about like making interesting land masses, and I love the kind of carving up islands, like interesting shaped islands and things like that, and kind of not knowing where the water's going. That feels more and more like the interesting part of the game. So that's my thinking of where I'd like the game to go, but I just haven't quite got to the point of going ahead and pushing it forward. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit roll and righted out for the moment after working on the thing with Bez and Alan on her stream. So yeah, I'll come back around. I'll come back around to it, I'm sure. Or we'll do another game jam and do something else. Erosion the Dice game. Yeah, something fun like that. Yeah, so I think today, because I like getting people addicted to new things, I'd introduce you all to a new type of logic puzzle after Star Battles did so well last stream. I thought I would introduce you to a new one called Masyu. That's MASYU. So this is actually quite a different or relatively different style of game to a different style of puzzle rather to Star Battles. And I have to admit, I'm starting with one that is probably quite difficult. It's a medium difficulty, so it's probably not a bad place to start. Maybe it's not the best. I could probably try. I wonder if there's some way that I could get to an easy one. Generator. Okay, it might generate. Okay, so it's gonna sorry, it's gonna generate me an easy one that's a 10 by 10. So this might be a good place to start. So in Masyu, it's a loop puzzle. So there's a lot of these numerical puzzles which involve you making an unbroken loop. And a loop means that you're making lines that go through around the board, and they're going to eventually loop back on themselves. So that would be a loop. In Masyu, one of the rules is that you're trying to essentially make a loop that goes through all of the circles. Say finish. So great, you've finished all the Star Battles. You're up for a new challenge then. Obviously, had to close the tab. Yeah, I can understand. So mathematical knots. Maybe it's a bit late. I must say I don't know so much about mathematical knots, or at least it's been a long time. So anyway, the rules are: the loop must go through each of the circles exactly once, and it must be one continuous loop. It can't be multiple loops. If it's an open circle, then the loop must pass through the circle in a straight line like this. So it has to go straight through one side and out the other side on the opposite side. On either of the squares that are next to the circle, this open circle, the loop must make a 90-degree turn. It must be at least one of them. It can be both, but it must be at least one. So for example, this is not allowed because I have gone straight through this white box, but in either this box here or this box here, I must make a 90-degree turn. Now, this is already going to show some of the solving, is that, like, if I do this, I can't do this. I can't make the 90-degree turn here because this is breaking this open circle here, because this needs to be, again, the open circle, you need to have a straight line that goes out the opposite way. So, for example, what you might do is realize that, okay, actually what we need is it goes straight through here, but here's the 90-degree turn. So, this is the start to the puzzle. The filled-in circles are sort of the opposite. You have to have a 90-degree turn that is centered in this circle. But the additional thing, and this again applies to the two boxes that like the loop goes into past the circle, unlike the open circle, the two adjacent ones, you have to go straight through those boxes that are next to it. So those are the rules. You have to go through every circle. The open circles you must go straight through, and then in at least one of the adjacent boxes to that open circle, you have to have a 90-degree turn. In the closed circle, you have a 90-degree turn in the circle, and each of the adjacent boxes you have to go straight through, and then you have to make the full loop. So yeah, so that's the puzzle essentially. So had a good start already here, and one of the things you get used to is these open circles produce a lot of parallel lines because you can't. So if you look here, for example, like this, and you can't have this. There's no like branching or anything like that. So this circle here also needs, you need a line that's going to go straight through it. Robert asked, can you do a 90-degree turn in empty spaces, or do all turns correspond? No, you can. Those are the rule. The rules are not. They're necessary but not sufficient. Sufficient or not necessary. So yeah, you can have in boxes that are not like determined by the rules. You can have anything you like. You can have straight sections. You can have 90-degree turns. So yeah, so I can have a 90-degree turn in this corner, for example. That's fine. But I know here, for example, if I look at this circle, I have to have a 90-degree turn here because I've gone straight through here already. And remember, you always have to have at least one 90-degree turn adjacent to the filled-in circles. So I have this. And then, like, here, like this has to go down here because I can't make a closed loop because I haven't gone through all the circles. Then I'm going to go straight through here. Then I know there's going to be a 90-degree turn here, which means immediately I know that this line has to go through here, because once there's a 90-degree turn here, that's basically there's like a wall between these two circles that the loop can't go through. And then I'm going to have another one here. We know that there's a 90-degree turn here somewhere. And we know actually that this 90-degree turn here, this can't happen because you have a 90-degree turn here, and on the adjacent boxes, you have to go straight through. So that actually tells you the 90-degree turn must be up here. You know that there's going to be a 90-degree turn through this circle, and it has to include this because it can't join up here. So I'm kind of just talking through it as much as I understand it. But again, if you have questions, do ask. Also, when you have white circles on the edge, you always know that you have like straight lines because they can't go off the edge, obviously. So there'll be something like this. We know this has to be a 90-degree turn. When you have two ones together, they're always pretty much always parallel. So it'll be like this. What about the edges? What do you mean the edges? You can't go through the edges, if that makes sense, the edges of the grid. I know I must have a 90-degree turn like this. Must go straight through. It'll be something like that. But there must be a turn here. This one here, it can't turn to this way because remember that the square next to a black circle has to go straight through, and it can't do that because it'll go off the page. So it must turn like this, which means that you go through like this, for example. Yeah, so we're making progress. I normally like to be able to make a mark on an edge between two boxes to show that that's like the loop can't go through there, and I can't do that with this, which is slightly annoying. But I mean, it's fine. But it's just something I normally am used to that helps me kind of solve it. So here, so we can't have this happening. Because if we have this, we're either going to have a closed loop or this will turn in here and there won't be any way for it to get out. So we know that definitely can't happen. So this must come down here. So it must connect up here. This must come up here. And this could turn. That would be fine. But if this turned, then this... So this actually has to go straight through because we know that that's the rule of the black circles. And this is going to join up here. These can't join up because if they do, we'd close the loop. So this has to keep going up. This has to go straight through. That's the rule of the black circles. This can't turn this way because it'll be a dead end down there. So this is going to go, it has to go straight through like that. This will keep going up. We know this must go straight through here. And it can't turn up here because it'll get stuck up here. So that's like that. So yeah, so you can see the kind of loops starting to form. Let's see if we had. Oh, this has to come through here like this because it's a straight line from the black, which means this white circle also has to be like this. This has to be more. This must join up like that. So these can't join up to each other because that would be a closed loop. So this opened like that. This must be a 90-degree turn because you have to have at least one 90-degree turn adjacent to the open circles. So it's to be straight through for the black, which means this is like this. This must join up here. This goes straight through here, but then we must have a 90-degree turn. This must be a 90-degree turn. This must be a 90-degree turn. We can't have something here because it's going to get stuck, so it'll go straight through like that. This is going to go through here, which means this white one must also do that. coming out of this black circle, you need to have a straight line, so it can't go the opposite direction, so it must be like this, and that will be enough to finish it. Check solution, and we're all good. So yeah, that is a Matthew. I can try another one. I can generate another easy one. Yeah. So I can also put this site in the if anybody wants to check it out. Yeah, I quite like it actually. It's interesting. It's a different sort of feeling because it's sort of very not so Sudoku sort of esque, if that makes sense. Rory says, feels like it would be an interesting system of leverage for a root building game. Yeah, it could be interesting actually. Yeah, for almost like, it feels very 18xx-y in a way. Yeah, it could be interesting for that. So obviously you have a corner here, and you have to have straight bits coming out of the black. Black on the edge, you always have to have something coming into the board because you have to have a 90-degree turn. Whereas open circles, you have to have it straight like that. So yeah, usually I go around doing the straight bits, and actually this means that we need 90-degree turns here. Obviously we need a 90-degree turn there. Something like that. Robin says, I'm still addicted to the hash heap, but I'm finding Sea Battle that very tricky. Yeah, Sea Battle is, I do find it also the one that I feel like it's, like the easy ones are easy, but the leap to hard is quite a leap, I find. Yeah, I definitely find it the hardest one. I like Tic-Tac-Toe from Conceptus as well, is quite a nice one. Although they do get quite samey in a way, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. The players have to place black or white pieces. Yeah, I think it could also be quite an interesting abstract game for like forcing certain ways for pieces to move and things like that. Definitely. Yeah, it's going straight through. That has to have 90 degrees, which this must come out here. And you always know that like if you have two black circles next to each other, they have to point away from each other because they can never connect. Because they connect, you'd have a right angle turn next to the black circle, which you can't have. Yeah. So yeah, these have to turn away from each other, which is fine. Which means this is going to have something like that. Remember to enjoy my tea. Okay, how are we going? Good. Well, it's not going to go out there because it'd have to go straight out. So we know we're going to have something like that there. And it must be out here because it couldn't go straight out the side. Yeah, you could have an. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. I like the idea of that, definitely. Yeah, breaking up different paths and things like that would be very cool. That can't go in there, so it has to be at least that. Let's turn like that. Just like that. So I'm going to go down there, so it must be like that. That would be fine. That would be an okay move. Can it go straight through? Maybe. Players alternate making a line in their color. They score points for hidden certain empty spaces. That sounds interesting. Yeah, definitely. Maybe we can all be working on a line of games inspired by logic puzzles. Yeah. Jeff Alice has shown the way for us all. So I feel like I should be able to solve this little bit here, because obviously you can do this, and that's fine. Going the other way is also fine. I guess the thing is, could you have? I mean, you could have something like that as well. Okay, I don't like. Shouldn't just be guessing. Oh well, this one is going to be like that, and I have to have the right angle going like that. That's fine. I've already had the right angle. Oh, this must have the right angle, so that's fine. This can't actually join up. Okay. Oh, well, this can't join up here because it'd form a closed loop down here. So I can't have this thing going down here. So it must go the other way. So we've definitely got that. And so this is going to have to come back here somehow, probably. I mean, we can basically work out what it would be like if it came through here. No, hold on. That's wrong, I think. Yeah. How do I get rid of what I had? What did I work out? Oh, this has to be like this now. Hi, Bez, how you going? Boxed in, top left of center. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'll just keep trying. Yeah, so this has to come up here. That's fine. This has to go like that. This has to go like that. That's joined up. That's joined up. That comes down here. This must come down here. This must be like that. This must be like this. And then we just have to join these up so we don't get a single loop. And that should be fine. No, thanks very much, Rob. Thanks for trying to help out. Yeah, so that is Masyu, M-A-S-Y-U, Masyu. Yeah, quite a fun, like a different, yeah, this other style which they call loop, kind of loop style logic puzzles, which are, yeah, it's quite fun. There's another one called Tangent. I think it's a Tangent, something like that, which is also an interesting loop style puzzle. Yeah, Bez, yeah, you missed it. So in the puzzle, so yeah, exactly. You have to make a single contiguous loop that passes through all the circles once. That's the first requirement. For each open circle, the white circle, the loop must go straight through it, going in on one side and out on the opposite side. And then you have to, oh, no worries, Robert, thanks for coming by. And good luck, yeah, good luck with the publisher on the weekend. And have a great weekend. Thanks for coming by. So with the white circles, yeah, you have to go in one side and out the opposite side. And in one of the adjacent boxes, you have to have a 90-degree turn. You can have it in both, but you have to have at least one. And in the black circles, you have to have the 90-degree turn on the black circle. But in both adjacent boxes, the line must go straight. It can't have a 90-degree turn. And those are the rules. So that enforces some things about the puzzle, and then you're able to work out, you know, where the loop must be, essentially. Yeah, so hope that was somewhat understandable. Yeah, but anyway, I think that might be yeah, that might sort of I'll slowly wind down. I think today is not going to be a very long stream. It's been a bit of a busy day, so I think I'm looking forward to some zoning out time this evening. But it's been really nice spending time with you all. I hope it's been relaxing or interesting or anything like that. I'm still always open to, if anyone would like me to talk about a particular topic, or if you think you have an idea for like a good thing for one of my streams, always happy for suggestions. So feel free to either suggest here or suggest to me on Twitter. I'm at Wise Goldfish. Always happy to take suggestions from chat and things like that. Yeah, Robin, advice wanted. Is this a prelude to a question, Robin, or yeah? Hey, Bez. Oh no, thanks very much. No worries. Don't be sorry at all. Oh, I see. What should I play this weekend? What should I learn to play this week? I assume you're going to give me some options. I'm waiting with bated breath. yeah, what I would like to play something a little bit. It's been a while since I've played something a bit heavier. I can't get. I keep thinking I'd like to play Feast for Odin again, but I really want to play it with the Norwegian expansion, but I can't get it. Ah, I see. Which of the West Kingdom trilogy would you like to play? The Viscounts, Architects, or Paladins? I've only played Paladins, so I'm not going to be much help, I'm afraid. Paladins was interesting, but yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what I would be really up for. Oh, Steamworks is on BGA. Oh, that's great. Yeah, oh, what's his name? The designer who was in Cambridge, Alex Churchill. Yeah. Rob's played Architects and very much enjoyed that. Yeah, they all seem quite interesting. I think the Paladins I found was surprisingly crunchy, but yeah, it was interesting. No, thanks very much, Simon. Thanks for dropping by. Well, I hope you can. Well, or just play all three, Robin. It's easy choice. Oh, Zay taught you Steamworks. Try to play the game on VJ until I've won at least once. Great. Oh, great. I'm glad that, yeah, it's the TMG game, right, Steamworks? I'm right, yeah, because Alex Churchill, the designer, was lived in Cambridge, and he came along to our group every now and then. Really, really nice fellow. Also made a very published, you might have seen that they published a scientific paper about how Magic the Gathering could be considered Turing complete. Like you can make a Turing machine out of Magic cards, like that just operate via the rules completely automatically, which is an interesting kind of paper. And Alex was one of the co-authors of that paper, just as a sort of a side interesting thing. Oh, Robin's trying to get Canvas stable. Yeah, Canvas does look very nice. I just saw the review from Tom Vassell. It was very, very positive. So yeah, I wouldn't mind having a look at that. I think it seems like they've done a really nice job, and I'm always interested in see-through cards and doing new things with that. I had one prototype that used see-through cards quite a while ago. It didn't really go anywhere. I pitched a little bit, but yeah, didn't quite happen. It was in the days just before. I don't know if it was before something like what's the AG Mystic Veil. I'm not sure if it was before Mystic Veil or after, slightly after. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, but anyway. So yeah, maybe we're going to go and raid somebody. I don't know who is streaming. Game Freak Geek Girl is on, so maybe we'll go and drop by her. If anyone else has any other choice. Oh yes, thanks Bez for the link. Yes, it is a really great gimmick for Canvas. That is true. No, it looks really good. So yeah, let's go and say hi to Monique then. Yeah, well I hope. Well yeah, before I go, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend wherever you are. And I hope you get to have a break or enjoy some games or cook or eat or whatever you're planning to do. I hope you stay well and safe and comfortable as much as possible. And yeah, I'll be back on Monday as normal. And yeah, take care until then, and enjoy the next stream. Enjoy Monique. Say hi for me. Well, I'll be there too. But anyway, all right, let's head over. No worries. Yeah, so it was a good chat, certainly. All right, thanks everyone. Take care. Have a great weekend.